My name is Emily Walker, and I've worked as a cast member at Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California, for over a decade. It's a place where dreams come true, where children and adults alike can escape into a world of magic and wonder. But behind the cheerful facade, there lurks a dark secret. The park is haunted by a demonic entity that has terrorized employees and guests for years. It all began during my first year at Disneyland. I was assigned to work in the Haunted Mansion attraction, a fitting place for someone who loved all things spooky. I was thrilled to be part of the magic, but I quickly learned that some of the hauntings in the park were all too real. One night, as I was closing up the Haunted Mansion, I felt a sudden chill. The temperature dropped dramatically and the air grew heavy with an oppressive feeling. I heard footsteps echoing through the halls even though I knew I was alone. I turned around expecting to see one of my colleagues, but there was no one there. As I continued my rounds, I saw a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was tall and humanoid, but its features were indistinct. The figure seemed to flicker in and out of existence like a glitch in reality. I blinked and it was gone, and I brushed it off as my imagination, but the experiences only grew more frequent and intense. I heard whispers in the dark, felt unseen hands brush against me, and saw the shadowy figure lurking in the corners of my vision. My colleagues reported similar experiences, but we all kept quiet, fearing that speaking out would cost us our jobs. One night, while I was cleaning the attraction, I found a strange symbol etched into the wall. It was a pentagram, surrounded by cryptic runes. I had never seen anything like it before, and it filled me with a sense of dread. I took a photo and showed it to my friend Rachel, who was a history buff and had an interest in the occult. Rachel told me that the symbol was associated with demonic rituals. She believed that someone had summoned a demonic entity to the park, binding it to the haunted mansion. The entity fed on fear, growing stronger with each terrified guest and employee. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Rachel and I began to investigate the park's history. We learned that before Disneyland was built, the land had been the site of a tragic accident. A young woman named Margaret had been killed in a freak accident during the construction of a nearby amusement park in the 1940s. Some believed that her death had left a curse on the land. As we delved deeper, we discovered that Margaret's death had not been an accident. She had been the victim of a ritual sacrifice performed by a cult that had operated in the area. The cult had believed that sacrificing a pure soul would grant them eternal life and power. They had summoned a demonic entity to bind to the land, ensuring that their power would endure. Rachel and I knew we had to do something to stop the entity. We couldn't let it continue to terrorize the park. We enlisted the help of a renowned paranormal investigator named Dr. Ethan Blackwood, who had experience dealing with demonic entities. Dr. Blackwood agreed to help us, intrigued by the challenge. He conducted a series of investigations using advanced equipment to detect the presence of the entity. His findings confirmed our worst fears. The entity was real, and it was growing stronger. Dr. Blackwood devised a plan to banish the entity. He explained that we would need to perform a cleansing ritual to break the entity's hold on the park. The ritual would require us to gather certain items associated with the original sacrifice and perform the ritual at the exact spot where Margaret had died. We spent weeks preparing for the ritual, gathering the necessary items and studying the incantations. The night of the ritual, the park was eerily quiet. We made our way to the haunted mansion, where Dr. Blackwood set up his equipment and prepared the ritual space. As we began the ritual, the air grew thick with tension. The shadowy figure appeared, its presence more menacing than ever. Dr. Blackwood instructed us to hold hands and recite the incantations, focusing our energy on banishing the entity. The temperature dropped further and the shadowy figure advanced towards us. I felt a cold, clammy hand grip my arm, and I fought the urge to flee. We continued to recite the incantations, our voices growing stronger and more confident. The figure let out a blood-curdling scream, its form flickering and distorting. The ground shook beneath our feet, and I felt a surge of energy pulse through the air. Dr. Blackwood shouted the final words of the incantation, and a blinding light filled the room. When the light faded, the figure was gone. The air felt lighter, the oppressive feeling lifted. We had done it. We had banished the demonic entity. In the days that followed, the park returned to normal. The strange occurrences ceased, and the haunted mansion was no longer a place of fear. Guests and employees alike could enjoy the magic of Disneyland without the lurking presence of the entity. Rachel and I continued to work at the park, our bond stronger than ever after our shared ordeal. Dr. Blackwood became a trusted friend and mentor, guiding us in our continued efforts to keep the park free from supernatural threats. The memory of that night stayed with me, a reminder of the hidden dangers that can lurk beneath the surface, but it also reminded me of the power of courage and determination, and the importance of standing up against the darkness. As I patrolled the park each night, I felt a sense of pride and purpose. I knew that I was part of something greater, a guardian of the magic and wonder that brought joy to so many. And though the demonic entity was gone, I remained vigilant, always ready to protect the park from whatever threats might come. Disneyland is a place of dreams, but it's also a place where nightmares can come to life. I learned that firsthand, and it's a lesson I'll never forget. But with friends like Rachel and Dr. Blackwood by my side, I know that we can face any challenge that comes our way. The park may be free from the demonic entity, but the memory of its haunting presence will always linger. And as long as I'm here, I'll continue to watch over the park, ensuring that the magic remains untainted and the dreams unbroken.